Good afternoon, Sylvania Baptist Church. It's Wednesday, April the 8th of 2020, and we are still under quarantine from the COVID-19 virus. Well, I guess I shouldn't say quarantine because we have not contracted it or been in contact with anyone who has, but we're still trying to do social distancing and staying away from everyone the best we can. I hope you're doing well. Again, let me tell you, church, that we love y'all, we miss y'all, we look forward to the day that we're going to be able to meet with you again. Today I wanted to talk to you about being preserved to work's end, and that is being preserved to our work's end. I read a passage, it's Acts 23:11. It says, "The Lord stood by him and said, Be of good cheer, Paul, for as thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem, so must thou bear witness also at Rome." To give you a little background, for 2 days Paul had been under a frightening, terrible strain. His mental and physical capabilities had been taxed to the very limit. Twice he had been snatched from the clutch of a frenzied mob by a Roman patrol. And the warning he had received not to venture into Jerusalem was bound to be weighing heavy upon his mind. How much more could he take? What was the breaking point? God knew. Just as he always does, the scene was this. It was the night following, and Paul was deeply discouraged and questioning his failure and feeling hopeless and helpless. He had been in such a state for over 24 hours. A significant fact is that there's no mention made of any support from James or any of the other apostles or elders of the church. Paul apparently stood alone, but note, the Lord stood by him. Just think about that for a minute. The Lord will always stand by our side. He encourages us. He sees us through everything that we go through, and if we'll just bear witness for him, he'll watch over and care for us, and he'll lead, guide, and direct us, and he'll help us through every situation, and he will make sure that we have a bright future. The Lord wants us to always be cheerful and courageous, no matter the trial. The life of his servant Paul was, it was very stressful at times, but yet Paul counted it all but loss, as he said in his own words, for the excellency of Christ. And that's exactly what we need to do. We need to be under the leadership of the Lord, and we need to let God work in and through us. Psalm 23:4 says, "I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." Psalm 27:1 says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my strength, the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" It would be natural for Paul to be depressed, fearful, discouraged during all this. Perhaps he was secretly upbraiding himself for the commotion he had caused. He had failed, and now what about his plans to go on to Rome? When would all this end? What good had it done him or anyone else for him to come to Jerusalem? And even he could probably say, "A fine thanks I got from the Jerusalem Christians for the generous gift that I brought to them." That night, as Paul thought about all these things and was concerned, the Lord himself drew near to Paul, as he had on the last 2 previous occasions, and Paul had not failed. He had been a tremendous witness. His reproof of that godless high priest was well overdue. And as for Rome, he would get there to come, and he would be able to bear witness in that city of the power of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Whenever God shared with Paul during this time, it put a new heart in the apostle. He took courage as the Lord commanded him to. He could take the criticism, the buffeting of all the circumstances, knowing that he was in the good and perfect and acceptable will of God. All things would indeed work together for good. He was called according to God's purpose, and he was still in the center of God's will. And for the next 2 or 3 years, he would be overwhelmed by difficulties and circumstances and shipwrecks and dangers and delays, but yet Paul would rise triumphant from all of this. Why? Because nothing could prevent him from getting to Rome, for sharing the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ, because he knew that his God had directed him and was leading the way. A question for you tonight. Are you a witness for the Lord? Are you just now in danger? Then remember that you are immortal till your work is done. If the Lord has more witness for you to bear, you will live to bear it. And who is he that can break the vessel which the Lord intends to use again? Reminds me of the potter's hands. The potter makes the vessel, and if he wants to mash it up and remold it and remake it, he can, and that's the way God is. But nobody else will be able to break us if God has molded us and made us to do a job. If there's no more work for you to do, then don't stress, because he's about to take you home and put you where you'll be beyond all the reach of all your adversaries and all the troubles and all the trials. And that'll be a place in heaven, and it's going to be a wonderful place. So we don't need to fear, and we don't need to be afraid. Our witness bearing for Jesus should be our chief concern. And I'll just be honest with you, we can't be stopped until it's finished. Therefore, we need to be at peace with God. We need to be obedient to him, and therefore we will have peace, because he will watch over and care for us, and he will give us that peace. Lots of times we're going to experience cruel slander. We're going to experience wicked misrepresentation of what we're doing. Friends are going to leave us, desert us. People that we trust the most are going to betray us. It doesn't matter what comes. Nothing can hinder the Lord's purpose concerning you and me if we're obedient and we're in the center of his will. The Lord stands by you in the night of your sorrow, and he says, "Thou must yet bear witness for me." Be calm. Be filled with the joy of the Lord. If you don't need this promise right now, you may very soon. There will come a day when you need to remember God is with you, and he will never leave you. He is the great I am. I hope you have a blessed night. I hope you sleep well, and I hope you get up tomorrow excited about serving a risen King. God bless.